Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and I continue with Bioshock 2. Now, in spite of what I said about you being a big daddy seeming a bit gimmicky to me, this is actually one of the additions into the game that I find kind of cool. The fact that you can stroll on the ocean floor and...
In that suit, even the ocean cannot harm you. This is good. But Rapture is the death of many great men. Alone, you will not last long. You can still reach the train station. Find me there.
You can explore the ocean floor and see Rapture from this perspective. It's entirely, non-interactive. You can't really do much. Underwater, you just walk around. But it's still nice. It gives you some nice views. So I do appreciate that. Escape from Rapture.
Alright, diary. Last entry. Lizzie and I, we found a sphere, and we're going home. Ain't that right, baby? Next stop, topside.
Oh, I love you. It was you who saved us, Sammy. It was you, Button. What was that? What's that sound?
She's seen us. It's Lamb. Torpedo! I'll try to...
Yeah, so you could hear that Lamb doesn't want people leaving, that's for sure. And you can also get a first glance at another type of Big Daddy that you're going to encounter later on. He has like a grenade launcher, and he can deploy mini turrets as well, as you could see in that brief encounter he had with the splicers. Now, in the underwater sections, there is almost always a fuel station that can refuel your drill. So once again, the game makes it really clear that it doesn't really want you to hoard the fuel, it wants you to spend it. So I'll try. Mealtime frozen dinner. Okay. Oh, and I believe this is actually the tail of a plane from Bioshock 1. I'm not entirely sure. It might be a different plane, but I think it would be weird for yet another plane to be brought down in that exact coordinates. So I think it is the same plane from Bioshock 1. Yeah, that, for example, is a very nice view, again. Although made a little bit more creepy by that giant head of Andrew Ryan overlooking the city. Welcome to Rapture, your beautiful city. And you can also see the big sister right here. Atlantic Express Maintenance Depot. And some mermen.
Herr Delta. You arrive, as the little one said you would. Come upstairs to the ticket booth, and I will offer what I know of you.
Atlantic Express Maintenance Facility. Attention, workers have ID badges visible at all times. Okay. Safety now. Please use safety gear.
Now most who survive are like this. Splicers. They're drug addicts. Vicious animals.
Now, another significant improvement in terms of gameplay is a change to the hacking. You get this hacker tool that shoots darts that can remotely hack.
You can sometimes trick the security system into opening a door, but you must have the proper tool.
That can remotely hack objects, and overall the hacking minigame is much less annoying and much quicker. You got the hack tool, press left mouse button to fire at machines to subvert them to your side. Because basically what you have to do is to stop the needle on the green section of the meter to advance. White will give you a nasty shock. Basically what you just have to do is to time it correctly so that you press it once it's on a green. It's a marked improvement in my mind over the minigame from Bioshock 1, which was very tiresome after a while. So generally I would say I'm definitely more of a fan of this. But you can still hack in direct contact and it still uses the same minigame. Get a blue bonus while hacking to upgrade the damage. So if you manage to get the blue spot, it gives you some kind of an advantage. Security inventory, okay.
This is Dr. Sophia Lamb. Andrew Ryan is dead, but the tyrant dwells within us all. Remember, We reject the gene. We reject the self. We reject the tyrant.
Yeah, so Sophia Lamb has started to showcase a little bit more of her philosophy. She's like a diametric opposition of Andrew Ryan. She's a collectivist, believing that human nature itself is kind of evil because it drives you towards self-interest, which, as I said again, is a direct opposition of what Andrew Ryan used to believe, because he thought that self-interest is the highest goal that every one of us should pursue. Whereas Sophia Lamb thinks that human nature is like keeping men subjugated to their base instincts of self-interest, which is evil to her. And as I said in the intro, some people think she's a crap villain because it's like, oh, let's just switch everything 180 degrees from Bioshock 1, have a different side of a coin kind of villain. But I think I don't have that strong opinions on that. I'm not going to say she's like a brilliant villain or anything. To be honest, things that I like about Bioshock 2 have more to do with the general world building of it rather than Sophia Lamb herself. But I think it's definitely kind of interesting, even if it is a little bit ham-fisted maybe, and a little bit, maybe too direct of a flip from Andrew Ryan into the other direction. It is kind of interesting to explore, like a hardcore utilitarian approach, utilitarian/collectivist approach, where she's a very weird person because as you will discover throughout the game, she preaches equal love to all humanity, but it makes it so it's so diluted that particular people are meaningless to her, because she always views everything in this wide lens of societal impact, to the point where particular people getting killed or horribly suffering is like a statistic to her, and she can justify that in her mind as benefiting a greater whole, which is exactly why I generally hate utilitarianism, because I think it works very well in this game. This game works very well to showcase to you what kind of a deranged conclusion you would reach if you would follow utilitarianism to its logical extreme. But I will, I will elaborate more upon that once she herself elaborates more on her own views. Yeah, so if you get a blue bonus while hacking a first aid kit station, you get a free first aid kit, which is, I guess, cool. The great chain Rattles.
I'm told that the people grow tense and isolated in the absence of the sun. Now they clamor for a psychiatrist. Do they miss the state censor, I wonder? Wartime seizure of private assets? Or the checkup police vanishing them in the night? Regardless, this Lamb woman is said to be the foremost practitioner in her field. Fine. If she can quiet the rattling of the great chain's weakest links, I will leave her to it.
Yeah, so this audio diary brings up a very interesting sort of world-building point, which is that the absence of sunlight created psychological problems within the population of Rapture, because obviously we as a species, humanity as a species, we are dependent on sunlight, and we have a need. Our circadian rhythm, our sleep patterns and all that, they are all linked to sunlight, and the prolonged lack of sunlight is actually problematic to our health. You can people living in subpolar circles experience that during the polar day, for the polar day and the polar night, for example, where during the polar day it is difficult for people to sleep because it's almost always bright outside, so their bodies think it's day constantly, it's not time to rest yet. Whereas during the polar night, your body thinks that it's night constantly, and you should be resting instead of working. But also people during winter months, in those subpolar circles, during the polar night, are more prone to depression and all that, which was also mentioned in that audio diary. Atlantic Express, Rapture's fastest way to travel. The end of Ryan is the end of the self. Gate control.
I know you. That symbol on your hand marks you a dead man. 10 years, Subject Delta, since I watched you put a gun to your head and pull the trigger. But take heart. Out of your pain, paradise was born. I don't know how you survived, but your suffering is over now. These men will ease your burden. Please understand that like all I have done, this is an act of love.
It is Sophia Lamb. She has found you.
I think I'm actually immortal in this section as well. Yeah, but that's the crazy that's the crazy thing about utilitarianism, that in a utilitarian approach, what she said is actually true. Like, you can actually justify killing people, but if you prove that it's going to improve society, it's going to improve living for a greater group of people, because utilitarianism is all about utility, which is the maximizing of happiness and the lessening of suffering. But most in the purest form of utilitarian thought, it doesn't mean personal happiness and personal suffering, but like total happiness and total suffering. So from Sophia Lamb's perspective, when she orders you killed to preserve the Rapture family, she's entirely justified in that, because sure, you dying is going to cause a lot of suffering to you, but it's going to preserve the happiness of the Rapture family and their survival and their happiness, thereby globally speaking, the the value of overall happiness is still a net positive, even though you died. And on a grounds of utilitarianism itself, you can't really argue with that. Like, it's not built, it's a moral philosophy that I think struggles with this exact type of scenario, and it's the exact reason why I dislike it so much, because if we assume that the end justifies the means, which is basically, utilitarianism is kind of consequentialist as well in its approach to morality, then you can justify whatever. It's a question of mathematics. There is actually, there are no principles in utilitarianism other than the principle of utility. And you can absolutely justify killing people or hurting people if you only extrapolate some greater equation out of it and show that it benefits more people than it disadvantages. So I think Sophia Lamb is interesting in that regard as a villain, and it is interesting to see her wrap her actions in those utilitarian justifications. Rapture Masquerade Ball, 1959. Oh, what was that? That was a corpse.
Now you know of the enemy we share, Sophia Lamb. The camera in your helmet allows me to watch through your eyes and help you to fight her.
I was actually healed. Interesting. Because I had much lower health originally. Atlantic Express administrative storage. There's a giant butterfly mural. Lamb will lead the way. Yeah, because obviously butterflies as a symbol, they represent rebirth, which is exactly what the Rapture family is supposed to be about. They are supposed to bring the resurgence of Rapture as a communal effort, as a community of people. They literally call themselves the Rapture family. And they are diametrically opposed to everything that Ryan stood for. Evolution and Battle, AccuVox, Fontaine Futuristics, Personal Voice Recorder. Okay. Introducing the future of health and wellness, the Vita Chamber. Restore vigor and spirit with the touch of a button. Okay.
Careful, security cameras belong to Lamb. But if you are clever, they can be made to serve you.
Get a blue bonus while hacking for a longer friendly alarm. Okay. Recombinant series, access, some calculations. Atlantic transportation something. company, Rapture Metro. Okay, upper structure plan, so it's like a diagram of the wagons or something. Although this, what is this? Okay, I'm not quite sure what that is, but we are the stones to pave the way. That's actually a very apt, but we are the stones to pave the way is actually a very apt description of how utilitarianism views people, because people to utilitarianism are bearers of utility. They are important only insofar as they are useful to the greater picture. So them being compared to stones to pave the way, specifically, you know, towards the goal. The people are means towards the end. That's very apt. To me. Jet Postal.
Father, it's me, Eleanor. I know you're awake in there. I can feel it. Mother won't be able to toy with you like that ever again. This plasmid is for you. If I'm right, you can use it now. Please, find me.
Come soon and find me. Telekinesis. Pick up big stuff with your mind, throw it at your enemies. What else do you need to know?
Throw objects at foes. You can even catch grenades and throw them back.
Yeah, I know how that works already. Hope that helps. I think it will. I do think it will. So, if you activate this, you can get some practice. Oh frick, that's not what I wanted to do. By having various items shot at you. I don't think you actually lose them, even if you don't catch them. It's more of an opportunity to familiarize yourself with how it works in like a controlled environment. Which something very similar was already done in Bioshock 1, where you found the telekinesis plasmid right next to a machine that threw tennis balls. She knows the way.
Up topside now, eyeball with all the can here. And if anybody gets lippy, he's got the bomb.
Nuts. saved a whole kindergarten full of cutesy little brats and went up happy ever after. He was pansy. End of story.
He's gonna give half his squirt when he's done. He's gone now, and Doc Lamb's the muse.
No, they were talking about the player character from Bioshock 1 and about what happened to him. But I think there might have been a way to go earlier to somewhere else. Though maybe I'm wrong, maybe it kind of loops back, because there was a place behind a fan that I think had an audio diary. Okay, you can actually use the telekinesis to do this. Oh, damn it. I didn't want to consume that second medkit, but well. It is what it is. Just a fad.
There would be no Rapture without me. No city without the Atlantic Express. Ryan took his first grand tour on my flagship coach. But these days, personal bathyspheres are all the rage. My rails only connect the oldest parts of Rapture now. And the city's just left me behind. Plenty of cash in the bank, though. This private vehicle craze will blow over soon.
To be honest, I find the plot point of you know, the rail system becoming wholly obsolete in favor of personal bathyspheres to be not that plausible, because to be honest, it seems to me that there are a lot of instances in which even if you could afford a personal bathysphere, it would still be rather cumbersome to use for getting around, and in those cases, you know, a train or a metro coach would still be a lot easier. So I'm not entirely sure what I think about that. But I'm also not sure about that fan. I'm almost sure there should be a way to get back there and listen to that audio diary specifically that was laying there. I wouldn't want to miss it. Okay, there's a health station. Trains run on time when you run on time. keep the Atlantic Express running efficiently. What happened to the people?
These people are hooked on some kind of genetic wonder drug called Adam. I've read the word splicer scribbled on walls like a warning. One of them cornered me and Christ, his face. I had a gun, but I choked. And then out of nowhere, we both heard this singing. And he took off like hell on wheels. It sounded like a kid. A little girl. Cindy's alive. I know it in my gut.
So more audio diaries from Mark Meltzer as he went deeper into Rapture, trying to find his daughter.
Sophia Lamb is using the splicers against you. Most big daddies are like her slaves, guarding the little ones. But someone has awakened you.
Okay, this should allow me.
I know of your bond with Eleanor Delta. To save yourself, you will come for her. But Eleanor has a destiny, one you cannot share. There is no place for you in paradise.
Is there a way to go back to that place with the fan? It's going to bother me. Rapture's fastest way to travel. Know the beast.
In ethical psychiatry, we must account for the role of evolution. Depression, fits of panic, sexual pathos, all responses to ancient selection pressure. The irony is that this theory is why Ryan's people invited me here. They mistake my study of natural law for the worship of competition. Remember, Eleanor, one must know the beast before it can be slain.
Yeah, so just a little bit more about Sophia Lamb's belief that human nature itself is like fundamentally problematic. Which is going to be explored in greater detail later, so I'm not going to spend that much time on it yet. And get a blue bonus while hacking to drop a free item. Okay, that's cool. I'm not going to buy anything yet.
Quickly, head for the elevator.
Have I missed something? Clearly I did, right? Right here. But also here. Damn it, I'm a bit confused and annoyed about this.
was to be your paradise. You grasped the so-called great chain of progress and pulled hard in your own interest. But then, the great chain snapped. Now paradise is dying, and you with her. But we are never alone. We shall live on, join the Rapture family, and be reborn.
Okay, I did overlook this. Not much is clear. I didn't know the whole floor counted as flooded. I almost killed myself. Ryan versus Lamb. Reality.
White is not black, Dr. Lamb. Down is not up, and straw is not gold. Look around you. Rapture is no miracle. It is a product of reason. Impossible unless 1 and 1 are 2, and A equates to A.
And yet, alone, each man is a prisoner to bias, dream, delusion, or the pain of a phantom limb. To one man, they are as real as rain. Reality is consensus, and the people are losing faith. Take a walk, Andrew. It is raining in Rapture, and you have simply chosen not to notice.
Now, unfortunately for Lamb, I think, because there are a couple of debates, there are a couple of audio diaries of her debating Andrew Ryan, and I think in each of them she doesn't she doesn't do that great of a job, because I happen to think she's entirely incorrect in what she said here, and Andrew Ryan is more or less entirely correct, because reality, sure as hell, is not dependent on consensus in the way that she describes it. You know, the laws of physics, they don't apply because enough people agree that they do. They apply because enough people on their own can observe them and test them. She is correct partially in saying that one man's observation of reality has a very huge potential of being flawed. She used a very good example of phantom pain, right? Which is subjectively entirely true. It's an existing condition for the person that suffers from it, but obviously it's a pain of a limb that no longer exists. It's entirely psychological. So she is correct in saying that one person has a very huge potential of error when observing reality, because there's nothing to compare your observation to, but she is entirely wrong in saying that reality is consensus. Observation of reality might be a consensus. You know, you could describe it this way. You know, that we form objective conclusions about the nature of reality by repeating the same observation enough times from enough different perspectives that we conclude it must be the same from each of those perspectives, and therefore something is real, you know, in a given state. But it has nothing to do with consensus in the form of enough people simply agreeing on something. If enough people agreed that, I don't know, that the world is flat, for example, that Earth is flat, if enough people agreed that it is so, it wouldn't make it true. Yeah, and with that being said, I think this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to save here and end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.